Heather Henley, and I'm here with Tony Pizzo. He is the Executive Director Emeritus. He is leaving the ships of the sea after 17 years. Tony, thanks for showing us around the museum before you go.
You're welcome. I'm glad I can get up the stairs because I'm 102 years old.
Well, maybe you've earned that retirement then. So you've seen a lot of changes here, and you've helped implement a lot of changes. Tell us a little bit about some of your favorites, the biggest things. I know that's hard to capsulize, but
I would say that not in any order of preference, but I mean one of my favorite things is the most recent thing that we're working on, which is this Making Waves initiative, which is a kind of interdisciplinary approach to trying to give local people a way to have an effect on the pollution of local and regional waterways. So we've got a website. Well, we're surrounded by
you can actually
by
see
one
this.
half of the exhibition, the artistic exhibition, which centers around pollution and possible solutions. And then in the garden, it's another thing that I'm really pleased with. We've been working on a program of public art in our North Garden maple grove, so that we have the facility for public art, and the Making Waves is our third public art exhibition. So it's free and open to the public 7 days a week. That exhibition centers around pollution and ecological issues as well. And then we also have a website that our curator of exhibits and education, Wendy Milton, put together, which is a real tour de force. It's very usable and very wide ranging in terms of presenting resources for people who want to get involved or start thinking in terms of what their life, how their lifestyle affects coastal ecology, and so that's a big thing. I mean, one of the things is that the founder, the benefactor of the museum here, Millsby Lane the fourth, wanted to see the museum used as a local resource. So one of the things that I've tried to do is concentrate on the museum as a local resource. The Making Waves really fits into that. The programs that we've had, the museum sponsored concerts that we've had over the years, tried to highlight interesting local musicians who were performing music or performing on instruments that people don't ordinarily hear in a live setting. With only one exception, they were all free. So that was an attempt to provide something to the community.
Those are great. If you get on savannahnow.com, Chris Monroe's Sav Art Scene column, he just talked to you, and we've got a video of a cigar box concert, and they're jamming out. It's great. That was another thing. In terms of one of the themes at the museum, I think, is that we're a maritime museum in a maritime community. Maritime communities, by their very nature, at least up until the present, are open to outside influence. So that really opens up the possibilities for us. So in terms of music, which was an interest of mine, I was able to fit it into the museum's vision and mission by concentrating on the kinds of music that would have come into Savannah. So one of the things we did was we've had some available material instrument building workshops where people build resonant available material versions of world instruments. And we started with the accounting, which is a West African three-stringed lute, which is probably one of the main ancestors of the banjo. So we built an accounting and paired that off with a four-string banjo, which was the earlier form of the banjo that took root in the South.
So, and then we went to cigar box guitars. 'Cause that was another regional instrument. So it, you know, it just kind of builds on that theme of, you know, of a cosmopolitan city.
Well, and then with the music, you've partnered with other entities once
Yeah.
with the North Garden, which is an amazing
Yeah.
space, and I've been to some great concerts there, at the Savannah Music Festival
Yeah.
and Savannah Stopover.
Yeah.
We've got some video, I think, online of Montreal just this year at Savannah Stopover. So, I mean, it's such a great variety.
Yeah, when I arrived here 17 years ago, the plan was to have was to expand. The easiest way to expand right off the bat was to use the space that we had next door as a garden. The premise of the garden was to have a roofed activity area that could be used for workshops, presentations, talks, as well as weddings, nonprofit organization receptions, and then also live music. So when we were starting to plan the North Garden, we went over to see Rob Gibson at the Savannah Music Festival and asked him, well, what do you see as a need, and what would you like to see in a concert venue, in a concert space? So we used that a lot.
And the North Garden's been open
About 6 years now. So the Savannah Music Festival, we hoped to have them here, and we're very happy to have them here. I mean, they're a great organization. They're very well run, very smooth. They have, you know, the choices, the schedule they have is, you know, just covers the gamut. It's great stuff. And then, and also in line with, you know, interesting, you know, supporting interesting community organizations. The Stopover was, I think we were pretty much in on the beginning of Stopover, and that was great because they were a local group of people trying to do something that's fairly ambitious and also you know, serves an underutilized audience for live music. So they were coming here, and then kind of the most recent, not the last, but the most recent form is Aurafest, where you've got a local promoter working with you know, with metal groups and also trying to bring in local musicians, and it's great.
You may have one of the most diverse music venues in town.
Well, thank you. I would like to think so, and if we don't, we will.
No, it's a great space.
Yeah. That's you know, it's an easy way to get people to come to the museum.
But like you said, it's not just music and events. You've got obviously a whole museum here.
Yeah.
So let's look around at some of this.
Sure.
This crazy guy. You've got several models here.
Yeah. The mission of the museum is threefold. The first is the maritime collection. So we have about 60 models. When we moved to this location from the location on River Street, our benefactor, Millsby Lane IV, decided to cull through his father's collection, which was much more general, and concentrate on the maritime history of Savannah. So everything on the first floor deals with the maritime history of Savannah, and they're all built to the same scale. So the little figures on the models, and just about every model has a number of hand-carved figures. They're all the same size, you know, like you could pull somebody off the crew here and put them on the Savannah. So there's the models and the paintings, and the maritime. Upstairs is more maritime memorabilia, equipment, measuring equipment, tools. There's the maritime collection. There's the house itself. The house is on the National Register of Historic Places. It's a national historic landmark. It was built in 1819, so we're coming in on our 200th anniversary next year, and so Wendy's got a range of activities planned for next year, activities and exhibitions that center around the 200th anniversary of the house, and at the same time the 200th anniversary of the launch of the steamship Savannah, which is Savannah's so full of, firsts and this, and, there's some having read a lot of Henry James, there's a lot of qualifiers in here. But, the Savannah was certainly one of the first steamships to complete a long voyage. The house was completed just in time for the launch of the Savannah. And it was President Monroe who was the first person actually to sleep here. And evidently, I believe that the furniture had to be donated to the house in order to furnish it for him to stay here. So the house and the steamship Savannah are very intimately related, and the house was built for one of the principal financial backers of the ship. So there's the maritime history, there's the house, and then there's the gardens. Mills was a great proponent of gardens. So our gardens are basically plants that would be native to Georgia or would have been found in Georgia when the house was completed. And then there were some divergences from that Mills worked out with our gardener, John McKellen, landscape designer and gardener, John McKellen, who's done the plantings built on plantings from the President's Garden Club, but added to the garden, and then took care of the plantings in the North Garden, where we also have a garden that is representative of plantings in the Trustees Garden, which was the agricultural station garden in Savannah, as well as plantings that William Scarborough's daughter Charlotte, who was an early possibly the first American woman entomologist, said that in letters that Wendy discovered that that we're in the garden at the house.
So you've almost got a historical reenactment out there.
Yeah, yes, every day is a historical reenactment here.
Well, along with the models and all the history, you mentioned Making Waves earlier, and Zach, I'm sure you got some shots of these, but these are just some artworks that are part of that Making Waves exhibition.
Right,
so,
all local artists.
Yeah, and I believe this is all like found plastic, right? Most of these pieces here.
What you're seeing here is, Harry DeLorme created a palette from discarded plastic that he found in a particular area along the seacoast, and then took a photograph of a scene, a landscape scene, and then replaced and then did a drawing underlayment, and then replaced the colors in the drawing from the palette of plastic.
And it just shows you just how much junk is out there.
Yeah. We have larger collections of flotsam and jetsam that are out in the garden, which, one of the things about the museum is kind of juxtaposition. The garden, the museum itself has a kind of very formal presentation. But at the same, and we take great pains to retain that. But at the same time, you can create a spark in someone's mind by juxtaposing that environment with something else. And we very consciously tried to do that in the North Garden with the exhibitions that are there. That it's a beautiful, cultivated garden that shows the hand of man. But then it also, it shows the right hand of man, but it also shows the left hand of man in the garbage that we're throwing, into the waterways. So it creates a spark. It makes some people a little uncomfortable, but that's kind of the point of it. We should be uncomfortable, at least uncomfortable.
Yeah. Well, great that you're bringing it into the future and bringing, modern sensibilities and. The ocean is just important. It has been for obviously more than 200 years here in Savannah, and we want to keep that.
At least 300.
Yeah.
And the other thing too is that the museum is we're really interested in kind of bringing it forward. There are all the models on this floor deal with the basically the 18th century and the 19th century. But we do want to bring it forward. We're interested in trying to bring the ports into it. And the ports are a really important part of daily life here. I'll bring the ports into it, and also just bring it into the present. So I live in the 19th century, so I'm going to hand it off to the capable hands of people who are living in the at least the late 20th and 21st century.
Well, in your time here, you've really helped make great strides at the
Well,
museum.
thanks. It's just been it was built on a very firm foundation that I was presented, and we have a small but really hardworking staff who really bring a lot of attention and dedication to their work here. So it's really it's just everyone working together that does it.
Well, Tony, you're not leaving Savannah, so I'm sure we'll
No.
see your smiling face.
Yeah,
You'll just come to the concerts and hang out now.
Oh yeah. I was trying. I'm thinking of asking John if I can dress up like a Sicilian gardener and hang out in the garden and just kind of weed for him. Yeah. But no, when we moved here, we figured this was it. That we were fortunate to land here, and so that was always the plan.
Well, thank you so much for
you're
showing
welcome.
us around, and look for the Sicilian gardener
Yes,
in
right,
his
yeah.
retirement at Ships of the Sea. Thanks for watching.
Yeah.